Hey folks, how's it going? So before I start this video, I would like to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you've been watching our channel for a while and have been enjoying, it really does help us out when you subscribe to our channel. So please do so and click on the bell notification so you will be notified when our new videos come out. So without further ado, today we are looking at the Metrum Acoustics Onyx Dac. And so people have been asking me, why do you like R2R Dacs? It's older technology, it's inferior in the sense that it's not modern innovation. Well, it's the same reason why I like tube amplifiers and a lot of people like tube amplifiers. It is older technology, but it is still preferred to this day because it sounds great. Now, R2R Dacs is a little bit different in the sense that technology has advanced a lot on the digital domain, and really a lot of innovation has been taking place with R2R Dacs to make it and correct for the things that it was lacking before. So please do consider checking more in detail about the R2R Dacs. There's a lot of resources online. For example, MSB's website, Metrum Acoustics website, and Audio GD's website. Many R2R Dac manufacturers have great information on their website regarding what they're doing with the R2R Dacs to make it sound so good. Of course, I left out one, Socrates, as well. So, how is this Metrum Acoustics Onyx running in my system currently is through the Metrum Acoustics to these, either through the render streamer over here or my computer down here. And for most part, I played with my computer and I was running Tidal, Rune, or sometimes YouTube. Now, YouTube, I was running it with YouTube because sometimes you have music that you can't find on Tidal or anywhere else really because it has been a live recording or a music that's really, really old and just really hard to find because it was recorded obscurely. If you put it into lenient terms, obscurely. Anyways, that's running into a Billy amp down here, which is a tube integrated amplifier that will be reviewed shortly. It's a great piece of gear. And so that's running these Dac Vela speakers that just came in for review. So far, it has been sounding really incredible. Now, the Metrum Acoustics has been hooked up into the system and had a chance to be paired up with a Toll IN200, IN100, Pair Sound Classic 200, and some of the Hagel amplifiers, and so on and so on. So Metrum Acoustics had been paired with quite a few pieces of gear so that I can assess what it sounds like. So when paired up with different speakers like the Klipsch RF8000 or the Tecton Double Impact or even the Dac Velas over here, the sound seemed to be very dynamic in all regards compared to other Dacs in the similar price range. Now, I find this funny because when I hooked up the Metrum Acoustics, the first thing I noticed was the increase in dynamic range. And what this really means is that the bass went lower and the high frequency seemed to extend more and seemed more open. Now, with a lot of shimmer on the top end, especially with something like the Klipsch horn design like 8000F or the ribbon design like the Dac Vela, the sound was very apparent, very open, even with Class D amplifiers in the circuitry. So I found this to be very interesting, and the first thing I noticed was the bass. And the bass had this grit and grab and a sense of really impactful yet round and dry kind of bass. And it went down really lower than compared to other Dacs. For example, my Meitner MA1 Dac over here, which costs about 10,000 Canadian dollars. So I found it to be exceptional in the bass region. Now the high frequency, like I've mentioned, is very open and it makes my system sound really open and really airy. The instrument separation is incredible and the soundstage is just out of this world. But that's all good and done. But if the mid-range doesn't sound right, nothing sounds right. And I found the mid-range to be a little bit recessed in the beginning of my assessment. However, when I had the Metrum Acoustics run for a few days, I found the mid-range to come back, and rather than being recessed on the neutral side, and very, very transparent, yet smooth, and really, really, how do I put it, jazzy. So when I played jazz or female vocals, it was very apparent, the vocals were very apparent that it was just floating in the middle of the room, and the sound stage and the depth and the control of the voice and the vibrations were just phenomenal. In fact, I'm going to tell you a funny story. The mid-range I found to be recessed in the beginning. Actually, I found the mid-range to be the stronger point towards the end of this review assessment. And so that is really funny because I was upstairs doing my editing thing, and when I was coming downstairs, I found my girlfriend listening to the system, and she had her eyes closed, all the lights were off, and she was listening to something that we normally don't listen to, Billie Jean's new album. And quite frankly, it sounded really amazing. And don't judge me, but it sounded absolutely fantastic. You should try it on your system. The notion of new music sounding like crap, some music really don't sound like all that bad. So anyways, she was listening to that music, and she had her eyes closed, and so I tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Hey, are you enjoying the music?" And her response was, "How is it? I've never heard music like this. How is it just like floating in the front, in the middle, and it's the bookshelf? It just disappears. The soundstage." Like, she was describing it in her own ways, and without me prompting any of these words or phrases or whatever description, it was amazing to me how she, who's not a total audiophile, but have heard a lot of speakers just because of my influence, and also because of her background of being surrounded with a lot of music in her raising, found, this setup specifically to sound that way. And I found her to keep coming back and saying the same thing when I hooked up the Metrum Acoustics. In fact, it was when I had the Metrum Acoustics setup that my girlfriend said she really likes the Tecton double impacts. So I found it to be a really good match with a lot of solid state gear, as it makes it more impactful, but adds a little bit of characteristic to it, like a tube characteristic to it. And so if you want a little bit more, rather a tube characteristic to your system, but don't want to sacrifice the dynamics of the solid state system that you currently have, then it's certainly a great option to go with. As well, if you're a tube guy and have tube amplifiers like me, and would love to have a little bit more extra layer to the sound, the Metrum Acoustics is a great option. So another thing that I really want to emphasize in this review is the layering of the Metrum Acoustics Onyx Dac. The layering on this Dac is absolutely fantastic. The soundstage and imaging comes in a depth-related fashion, and the layering between instruments are very apparent, and it's almost like listening to a very well-organized orchestra. When you're listening to more like a classical type of music and busy tracks, it's rather very apparent that you can hear every note and instrument in a separation rather than a whole note coming at you. So I found this to be very apparent in higher-end Dacs, upwards of $10,000, but it was very pleasant to find out that there was a Dac that's under $10,000 that was able to perform this way. So it did surprise me very much, and it is an incredible design. Of course, it is a fully balanced, non-oversampling Dac. So what does it mean to be non-oversampling Dac? Well, when things are oversampled, when Dacs oversample things, when it's done incorrectly or not in a very good way, it tends to destroy its original file recording, and it's not true to the source. So companies like these, like Metrum Acoustics and even Audio GD and a lot of the R2R Dac these days don't oversample. And this is one way of saying we are going to be true to the source. We're not going to oversample. Whatever you feed it into it, it's going to be coming out. So it takes on a bit of a purist approach in that regard. Now, it is fully balanced. It has two R2R DACs, ladder DACs per side, left and right, fully isolated. And so it has RCA outputs, also XLR outputs for fully balanced option. And so I found this DAC to be very, very easy to integrate into your system, as it also has, capability of having single-ended outputs as well as balanced outputs. Plus, it has a USB, optical, coax, ASBU, and on and standby switch. Now, this on and standby switch is also very useful because when DACs are always turned on, it sounds better. So when you put it on standby mode, that's taking very little current, but it's always being kept on. This is very common in higher end gear such as Macintosh. Now, if you don't agree that Macintosh is high end gear, then that's okay. But it's also apparent in Corel, Mark Levinson. A lot of high end gear has this standby option, and that is because things sound better. Amplifier, DACs, most things sound better when they're left turned on for 20 minutes, an hour, etc., etc. So it's better to have a standby option that's always drawing a little bit of current to the system and not fully turned off. So there you have it. I found the Metrum Acoustics Onyx DAC to be a phenomenal match with many speakers, including the Tecton Double Impact, the Dac Velas, Dac Carinas, Klipsch 8000F, etc., etc. And I just find it to be an exceptional DAC for the price, and in fact, just one of the best DACs I've heard, period, as it gets very close to the MSB DAC that I really prefer myself. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.